The Etruscan League in Total War Rome 2 is a hollowed-out shell of a faction with a bare-bones unit roster. The faction ends up being nothing more than a small speed bump on Rome's inevitable path to domination. But with the power of modding, we can transform this underwhelming minor faction into a major power worthy of the rich history and cultural heritage of the Etruscan civilization. We can mold it into a force that can challenge Rome both on the campaign and on the battlefield. And that's exactly what we're going to do in today's episode of Total War Rome 2 Mods Weekly. Let me be clear, the Etruscan League's crippling weakness is a great thing for the balance of Rome's campaign, and it ensures that when it's controlled by the AI, Rome at least becomes a regional power. That said, Etruscan feebleness is not great for the alternate history enjoyers among us. I recently asked you folks which Rome 2 minor faction that you thought should have been playable in vanilla. You gave me lots of really great answers, and the Etruscans came up multiple times. By the way, let me know down below if you have any suggestions for another minor faction overhaul video like this. It's true that by the game's start in 272 BCE, the Romans pretty much had the Etruscans on the ropes. But this is a game where you can conquer the ancient world as Sparta, a city-state faction with historically crippling population issues. And I love it for that. The sandbox nature is part of what makes Total War games so fun. When you reveal the Fog of War 100 turns into a campaign, you don't know what you're gonna find. The problem is, unlike Sparta, only 2 of the Etruscans' very limited unit selection are actually any good. So in this video, we're gonna use mods to turn the Etruscan League into the faction it should have been, overhauling its voice acting, its unit roster, its faction traits, and more. So if that sounds good to you, then a like on the video would really help the channel out, and shout out to Rosa Milano for providing the inspiration for this video in a comment. First things first, we need to unlock the Etruscan League to play as them. I recommend Nordo's Faction Unlocker all-in-one, which not only unlocks all previously unplayable factions, but it gives each of them unique faction traits as well. The Etruscan cultural traits are Fierce Independence and Etruscan Theocracy, which gives 10% melee defense in allied territory, and public order bonuses from the presence of Latin culture, respectively. These will come in handy in the early struggles against Rome, as Rome has a huge advantage in income, public order, and recruitment capabilities. Rome and Etruria share the same culture, so public order bonuses will make securing your conquest of Italy from Rome that much easier. The faction traits include moderate diplomatic bonuses towards Greeks, bonuses to cultural conversion, and more bonus public order from the presence of Latin culture. Syracuse is the wild card in the struggle for Italia. Sometimes they ally with the Romans, and sometimes they don't. With a bonus to relations with Greek factions, cleaving Syracuse out of Rome's good graces and bringing them into yours will be much easier. You want to be fighting on as few fronts as possible, so at a minimum, keeping Syracuse out of the war or even getting them to join in on your side will be hugely beneficial. Next up, we have AAA Generals. This mod overhauls the bland-looking vanilla generals and gives them much better-looking facial models with more varied looks and equipment. Your generals will even visually age as they grow older. This is a first for Rome 2 modding. I've covered this mod on the channel before, and I highly recommend always leaving it enabled no matter what mods you're using. It's a must-have, and an incredible contribution from the talented Rome 2 modding community. The next mod we'll use is Etruscan Accent in the Grand Campaign. This mod imports the unique Etruscan voice lines present in the Rise of the Republic DLC into the Grand Campaign. You won't notice this mod unless you're playing against the Etruscans, but I still think it's worth using because the vanilla voices for the Etruscans are, well, take a listen for yourself. Your ears will explain it to you far better than I ever could.
Are you brave or foolish, or just mad? Well, speak. I will listen before I turn you inside out. You pitiful wretches have a sense of humor. I would as soon ally with weak dead fish. Their stink is better. You think to turn our heads with your unholy trinkets? Save them for the little boys you favor.
Make your case with speed and honesty. I am a busy man, and have no time for dissemblers. The omens cannot be argued with, but that is the only reason I am agreeing to this. So, you have come. Let us hear what you have to say then.
Next on the list, we have Nordo's Etruscan Emblem. This one isn't mandatory, of course, but I think it's a cool visual representation that this is a new and improved Etruscan League. It's not your granddaddy's Etruscan League anymore. So far with these mods, the Etruscans are shaping up into a more distinct faction, with unique traits, voice lines, and skins. However, now it's time to fix the League's most egregious weakness, the unit roster. For this, we'll use the Etruscan Unit Expansion Pack. This mod is the most comprehensive unit pack for the Etruscans that I've found, and it's very high quality. It adds 14 completely new land units, 6 new naval units, and it adds in new equipment models and textures for the new units to wear as well. It gives them a Roman-style auxiliary system, and what I personally found really clever, it reconfigures their vanilla units into Italian auxiliary units. It's a sort of Etruscan version of the Roman Sacii units. 11 of the 14 new units were researched extensively to be as historically accurate as possible, with 3 being more historically plausible what-if units. With the mod enabled, the roster goes from emaciated to well-rounded, if admittedly infantry-heavy and lacking variety in cavalry types. For example, they lack shock cavalry of any kind. In terms of melee infantry, Etruscan Marines bring up the lower tier, and uniquely, they can be recruited from ports. This is a feature that I wish existed in the vanilla game. Etruscan swordsmen are heavy infantry roughly analogous to Roman hastati and principes. Unlike Rome, however, they can recruit shock infantry in the form of these really cool looking Etruscan axemen. Later on, they can recruit their own version of legionaries and the extremely powerful King's Guard, who have a unique ability called Presence, which recharges abilities for nearby allies. This is normally a unique general ability, so seeing it here is a really nice touch. As you can probably guess, the what-if units are the legionary type units. The what if the Etruscans were able to survive, establish themselves, and sort of professionalize their military in a similar vein as the Romans. Personally, I find it very immersive when mods account for this sort of thing, like Sebide's unit roster Overhaul, which I also covered on the channel. The reason for that is, it gets really unimmersive when you conquer the world as the Gauls and you're still using like rabble. I just don't like that. Anyways, I digress. You might have a different opinion, let me know down below. They don't have quite as many spearmen options, but their Etruscan hoplites stand out as powerful tanks that can hold down the Etruscan battle lines. Their missile infantry options are limited to levy tier units, but their ability to use slings, bows, and javelins is a marked improvement over their vanilla selections. Like Rome, they can also use the auxiliary system, so they can always fill gaps in their missile roster that way. Cavalry is an unexpected highlight of the Etruscan roster. In addition to the perennially fantastic Italian noble cavalry from vanilla, citizen cavalry and legionary cavalry fill out the mid and late game cavalry roles respectively. Finally, they have a missile cavalry option in the form of Etruscan light cavalry, who fulfill the role of lightning-fast skirmishing on the battlefield. All in all, much like their Roman cousins, the Etruscans have a powerful infantry-centric army, just with fewer melee infantry options and slightly stronger missile units. They don't get access to legionary tier units until mid-game at the earliest, but their early units are extremely cost-effective, so it balances out. And with that, we've completed our overhaul of the Etruscan League, getting it as close to possible to a major playable faction that fits seamlessly into the vanilla game. You can try these mods for yourself by clicking the link in the description box down below, and if you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it's really the best way to help me out. Leave a comment down below with any suggestions for mods you want to see covered on the channel. Take care everyone, and I hope to see you in the next video.